What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad you're here again. Today we're going to do something a little out of the ordinary. One of the things you probably don't know about me yet is that I love to do product photography. I end up doing it for clients and for little projects here and there. It's not something I've talked about on the channel before. It's obviously not in the landscape photography realm, but it's one of those things that lets me express the OCD part of my personality where I can control everything in the situation, which, unlike landscape photography, where obviously you have basically no control of anything, product photography, we can control all the elements. We can work in a room where we can control the light, we can change the angles, we can do static setups, and we can even throw things back in the computer and see if we like them. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do today. We are on our way to storage right now to pick up a few props to shoot in at the house. We're just going to shoot at the kitchen table, and my whole goal is to be able to do this with basically as little equipment as possible. This is something you could replicate at home with your own things, whether you're shooting product photography or stuff for eBay or just having a good time while you're locked down from this whole COVID thing. So yeah, let's have some fun with product photography. Welcome back to the show, and here we go. You didn't think we were just gonna do this with stuff around the house, did you? All right, so I think we got everything we need from storage. I had to pick up some photos for a client and a couple of guitars for this thing we're gonna do next. So we're heading back home. I will meet you in the dining room, and we'll turn that dining room table into a little set to shoot these guitars. So dark, light. All right, so here we are at the kitchen table. I want to show you the couple of little props that I'm going to use to shoot these guitars. The first is this black sheet, just a regular black king size sheet that I'm going to use to cover the table so that we can get rid of any details, because we want this to be all about the guitars. The second thing I've got is a yoga block, and you'll see what I'm going to use that for in a minute. And then the last thing, the thing that we're going to light this entire scene with, is this tiny little aperture LED light. They run 45 or 50 bucks on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description in case you want to check that out. They come with a couple of gels, a cooling and a warming. We won't even be using those. Just the light. So besides those things, I'll have my tripod, I'll have my camera, and then I'm actually using a second tripod to hold this light so that I don't have to hold it with my hand. Normally I'd probably play with it with my hand, but because we're shooting two guitars and my idea for this shot needs them both to be lit exactly the same, we're just gonna use a tripod and that little selfie stick arm for my 360 video to just hold the light above the guitar. So that's all the accessory stuff we're going to use. Now, just like when we're out in the field shooting landscape photography, I always say it's very important to have a concept for the shot that you want. You know, if you're going somewhere and there's going to be reflection, or you're going for sunset, or you have a specific subject in mind, that you have that sort of pre-composed, that you're thinking about how you want that to feel. Obviously outside we're dependent on the light, but inside we can control everything. And so what I want to do is orient this shoot around my idea for how I want to show off this product. Now, if you were shooting for e-commerce or for eBay or something like that, where you're trying to shoot a product in the most obvious situations so that the person buying that thing will be able to know exactly what it is, that's one type of product photography. What I want to do today is the more editorial, sort of epic, really cool light, really interesting composition, where maybe we're not showing the entire product, maybe we're just shooting a detail, or maybe we have a limited depth of field. So the concept that I have for this is I brought two guitars back, a Gibson Les Paul and a Fender Stratocaster, and what I'd like to do is shoot them both identically face up on the table, and then actually create a composition where they're sort of hovering above each other. So we have leading lines coming from the bodies of the guitar and going out into the necks, and just fading off into darkness, which is one reason we're only going to use this one light. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this table set up, and I'll walk you through my thinking on that as we go. I'll have to apologize for the lighting. We're going to be switching between this one little light and the room lights to kind of be able to show me without having horrible grain in the video. So if things get wonky, forgive me there. But let's go ahead and get this table set up and start shooting. Okay, so I don't have a backdrop stand or anything like that, so I'm just going to use these two chairs, and we're just going to throw this sheet out over the table, and then I'm going to pull it up over these chairs. I just need a little bit at the end of my frame so that you don't see the end of the table. So what I want to do is I'm just going to line these right up with the edge of the table so that it falls evenly at the edges. Just like that. All right, so all I'm adjusting for here is to make sure that this little swoop diffuses the light evenly. We have some wrinkles in the table and stuff like that, but most of that we're not going to see, but I just want to make sure that we're fading out nice and soft back here, just in case in our final images we see a little bit of this, that we'll be able to smooth it out very easily in Photoshop, darken it up without any hard edges or funny wrinkles or anything like that. All right, now if we just set the guitar on the table, we end up with a little bit of a problem. If I switch my light on here and actually have it shining straight from above, I'm going to be getting very, very harsh shadows around the rim of this onto the sheet. So what we want to do is raise the guitar up so that we can look straight over the top. We can see the little strap button here at the end, and then the light will just fall off really soft. And so we need to raise this up, which is why I've got the yoga block. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the yoga block right underneath the guitar neck, right there, just as far away and still balance as we can. I want to be close to the camera because I'm going to shoot down, and so I'm not going to see, I want more canvas behind me, so to speak. So I just want to make sure that's balanced so I don't end up with a catastrophe. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the camera up so I'm looking straight down the neck of the guitar. I'm going to line up this little button here and make sure I'm splitting the strings, make sure this thing's just dead straight. And that's going to be really key because once we flip the two guitars on top of each other, or even just from a symmetry perspective, I want to make sure my camera is directly in the middle of the frame, that everything is converging into that into the horizon, that we have those leading lines going very, very symmetrical here. So we'll get all that set up, and then we'll turn this light off, and we'll get this little light set up, and I'll show you sort of what I'm thinking about that. All right, so I've got everything sided up the way I want. I'm setting up everything before I actually put my little LED light on because it's going to be easier for me to get my focus with a full room full of light. And then once we go to the little light, we're going to have a longer exposure. It's going to be a little noisier if I'm trying to zoom in and get perfect focus. So I'm trying to do that just like we talk about in the field. Get that focus first while there's still light so that there's no question that the focus is spot on. So I can show you what's going on here in my camera. There's a little bit of a video crop, but you can see how I'm looking straight down the neck of the guitar. I've got the pickups, sort of the controls at the beginning of the guitar in perfect focus, and then that focus just falls off as we go away from the camera. All right, so that camera's in position, guitar's perfectly lined up. Like I said before, I've got that selfie stick running up to that tiny little LED light. looking straight down. I'm gonna kill this light. This is only so you can see me right now. I'm gonna kill this light. I've closed all the blinds. We're gonna try and make this room as dark as possible except for this light. And that light should come down, spill off, leave us a nice soft shadow down below, maybe just a little bit of light gray down here. And hopefully we're gonna get just enough bounce back up that we can get a little bit of that strap button there on the end. So as the guitar kind of folds over the edge, we see that little bit of chrome past the edge. So I'm gonna kill this light, we're gonna take a couple of pictures, and then we'll regroup to switch out the guitars and throw the Fender in the mix. All right, so that looks great. It's time to switch out guitars, but I don't want anything to move. I want my lights to all stay the same, and I need the second guitar to be in the exact same spot as this guitar. So I'm gonna use just a couple of household things, a frother and this potato masher, and I'm actually gonna just put that right, I'm just gonna line it up right at the center of that, that little button there on the end, and then right at the center of the neck here. And just so I have a reference for where the center of this guitar was. Perfect. Now let's shoot these. All right, guys, shoot's over. I have put these in the computer. I've worked through them. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the end results, and then we'll wrap up with a couple of pointers here. So here's the Fender all by itself. And then here is the Gibson all by itself. And here's that shot that I was talking about, sort of the yin and yang over under with the vanishing point to the end of the frame. So let me know in the comments which one you like best. If you liked either of them, I don't know. Leave me a comment. I love to see your comments. Like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for sticking around. A couple of pointers when you're doing product shots like this. It's a lot of times worth it to actually take a couple of pictures, pull your card, throw it into the computer, and actually really look at the image that you're getting. A lot of times you'll notice things like dust, or that there's a scratch somewhere, or maybe your surface that you're shooting on could use a little tidying up, or maybe you're just a little too high, a little too low, things that you don't recognize right off the bat when you're just looking at it through the viewfinder. That always helps when you can shoot in a controlled environment like this and move the lighting around, try different things. It's a lot of fun, and it's a little bit addictive. When I first got into this, I would just pull random stuff from around the house just to see how cool I could make it look as a product shot. You don't need a lot of set design to do work like this. You don't need to spend a lot of time trying to gather together stuff. A lot of times a simple shot is the best shot. As you can see by these guitars, the product says all you need to say. It doesn't take a bunch of crazy lighting situations or a bunch of extra props. It just takes a little creativity, a really sharp focus, and an idea that you're working with before you get started. So thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.